Hello and welcome to Scientifically Speaking. Today we're going to be talking about our geomagnetic field. Now I created a video on June 9th showing that evolution adaptation is linked to the Schumann resonances, and this was explained quickly and basically as our field is losing strength and observable adaptation and observable evolution is being observed at this very moment. Biological beings are changing, and they're saying, oh look, it's evolution. Well, it's happening really fast and it's taking millions of years. Well, that's what we were taught, but that's not what's happening. Now, I said it's linked to the Schumann resonance and that this is how things do evolve, because the Schumann resonance, as the field goes down, the Schumann resonance will change and will affect different parts of DNA. And so different animals will start to appear as different DNA-coded electrical frequency DNA code is activated by the Schumann frequency. We'll just run across a paper that now kind of confirms that, because the title of this video is What Has God Done For Me Lately? Now, people seem to be running around with their lives, believing in the world, when you really should be focusing on God and developing a relationship with Him and Jesus Christ, so that you can be redeemed and confess your sins, turn around in your sins and be saved. But people turn around and say, well, God doesn't do anything for me. You know, I pray and nothing happens, and I'll be a good person and just bad stuff happens to me. And they can't see what God is doing for them. Now, I alluded to it in my evolution adaptation video linked to the Schumann resonances. And I said, well, it's the field that's keeping us alive and stopping us from dropping to bits, because energy is life, and God is an energy being who gives life to lifeless matter. I've said that matter can't move itself. I've said matter has no intrinsic energy of its own to do anything, and we are in a sea of energy, the geomagnetic field, that is actually powering your body via Wi-Fi. You are walking through a magnetic field generating electricity within your atoms. And I've said the field is the only thing keeping us alive and stopping us from dropping to bits, going mad, and all the rest of it. We can't survive without this field. That's another reason there's no life on a lot of the planets we can see, because it's just not sustainable for life. So, what's this new paper? All right. This is called, is this the top bit of the paper? Yeah. Radical triads, not pairs, may explain effects of hypomagnetic fields on neurogenesis. All right, well, let's just see what hypomagnetic fields are. Biological effects. Next, coming down to space travel. And the abstract here says, during interplanetary flights in the near future, a human organism will be exposed to prolonged periods of hypomagnetic field that is 10,000 times weaker than that of the Earth's. You see, now this is where we get down to the nitty-gritty that science lies, is that we are electrical and magnetic. Science likes to say it's all to do with gravity fusion, which of course is garbage. Life is electrical. Life is energy, electricity and magnetism. So a hypomagnetic field is zero field. So what happens to you when you are exposed to a zero field or have, the field taken away? What happens? I'm going to read through this. It's extremely technical, and a few little bits of it, well, a little more than a few little bits of it, escape me due to not understanding, having a picture in my head of certain words. But it's going to tell you the basics. Then we're going to go to the conclusion, and we're going to find out what happens to you when the geomagnetic field of our planet, which is failing right now, we're going to find out what happens to you. All right. Adult hippocampal neurogenesis and hippocampus-dependent cognition in mice have been found to be adversely affected by hypomagnetic field exposure. The effect concurred with a reduction of reactive oxygen species in the absence of the geomagnetic field. A recent theoretic study suggests a mechanistic interpretation of this phenomena in the framework of the radical pair mechanisms. Got to put my glasses on. According to this model, a flavin superoxide radical pair born in the singlet spin configuration undergoes magnetic field-dependent spin dynamics such that the pair's recombination is enhanced by the applied magnetic as the applied magnetic field is reduced. According to this model, a flavin superoxide radical pair born in the singlet spin configuration undergoes magnetic field-dependent spin dynamics such that the pair's recombination is enhanced as the applied magnetic field is reduced. This model has two ostensible weaknesses. A. The assumption of a singular initial state is irreconcilable with known reaction pathways generating such radical pairs. And B. The model neglects the swift spin relaxation of free superoxide, which abolishes any magnetic sensitivity in geomagnetic hypomagnetic fields. We here suggest that a model based on a radical triad and the assumption of a secondary radical scavenging reaction can, in principle, explain the phenomena without unnatural assumptions, thus providing a coherent explanation of hypomagnetic field effects in biology. So basically they're going to tell you what happens to biology when you take away the field. A multitude of biological processes have been ascribed sensitivity to weak magnetic fields, i.e. magnetic fields comparable to the geomagnetic field. So here we see immediately biological processes, lots of them, use energy from the magnetic field. A multitude of biological processes have been ascribed sensitivity to weak magnetic fields. That means these biological processes are affected by magnetic fields, i.e. magnetic fields comparable to the geomagnetic field, which is the sea of energy we live in. The artificial absence of magnetic fields, i.e. exposure to hypomagnetic field, has likewise been linked to biological effects in cells, animals and plants. A recent study by Zhang et al. Suggests that male mice exposed to hypomagnetic fields, HMF, by means of near elimination of the geomagnetic fields, suffer a significant impairment of adult hippocampal neurogenesis and hippocampus-dependent learning. Specifically, decreased adult neuronal stem cell proliferation, altered cell lineages in critical development stages of neurogenesis, and impeded dendritic development in newborn neurons have been implicated. Now, dendritic means like the expansion of like a lightning strike. Dendritic means to shoot out like a vortex. It impeded newborn neurons from spreading and interacting with other neurons. That's basically what that's saying. Or is my understanding of dendritic massive? No, because here we've got the features here. Dendrites dendrons are branch protoplasmic extensions of a nerve cell. Okay, so I was correct. So yes, it impedes dendritic development. It means you're going to end up stupid. And this also goes back to my other video where I said it's called the Great Forgetting. And I said when the field turns off, everybody's going to forget everything. Your memories, everything people have done, and we're all going to be dumb as crud. This is why people are like, oh, Neanderthals and stupid humans, we lived in caves. It's like, no, we didn't have a lot of brains. And until the magnetic field raises again, you stay as a dummy. So not only is it causing evolution and weird animals and plants to show up, it will also cause you to lose your thinking abilities. So basically you'll either starve to death, won't be able to catch food, get eaten by animals, have no sense of danger, things like that. The effects correlated strongly with a reduction in concentration of endogenous reactive oxygen species, ROS. Elevating ROS levels through pharmacological inhibition of superoxide dismutases via diethyldeothocarbamate showed recovery of neurogenesis in HMF exposure. The return to the GMF after HMF exposure rescued the hippocampal neurogenesis, which could again be blocked by inhibitors of ROS production via apocynin. So there we go. The return to our normal geomagnetic field after the hypomagnetic field exposure rescued the hippocampal neurogenesis. So once the field came back on, neurons could put out more dendritic development. We got brighter and cleverer. So we've gone through history at least 5 times, and God said, I will chastise Israel 5, even 6 times. We've had 5 mass extinctions, and yet everybody seemed to be brighter in the past. I said it was because the magnetic field was massively higher in the past, and every time the sun goes micronova, it shuts off the planet and it comes back weaker. And it will always come back weaker because God's not here. So we gain back intelligence, but we don't gain back intelligence we had 6,000 years ago when we were building pyramids and all these amazing structures that we find now. And we have no idea how they built them. So yeah, so my last video, adaptation evolution, is monitored by the Schumann frequency and changes the biological formation of biological units by raising or lowering the Schumann resonance. And if it stays constantly higher or constantly lower, other DNA will be activated. And I stated this, and we supposedly have a load of junk DNA. No, we don't. We have a field that is not strong enough to activate all that DNA code. We don't have junk DNA, that's garbage. We have unactivated DNA code. And here we see now, if the geomagnetic field disappears, we're all going to be stupid. This is why they built these million people mountains, where they're digging into mountains 6,000 years ago. They found them in China and all other places. In mountains, enough room for 1 million people. Why? Because you have surface magnetism, which will collect on a mountain. This will give you a little bit of protection from when the field goes down. And I wouldn't be surprised if the pyramids were used for the same thing. There isn't just the geomagnetic field of the Earth. Everything on top of the outside of the Earth creates surface magnetism. So you might be safer inside a great big mountain. You certainly won't be as dim-witted as if you were outside with all the radiation hitting you, and that's why you've got thick eyebrows and thick skulls, because, well, radiation poisoning causes a thickening of bones over time to protect the body. So let's just go to the conclusion here and see what they say. Conclusions. Zhang et al. Demonstrated that hippocampal neurogenesis and hippocampus-dependent cognition adversely respond to hypomagnetic field exposure. So there is an adverse response of your brain when they take away the field. Adverse. Let's just check the meaning of that word. Adverse. Preventing success or development. Harmful, unfavorable. Yeah, it's not a good thing to have your brain adversely responded to zero magnetic fields. Risheb et al. Have interpreted this remarkable finding in terms of the recombination of a radical pair comprising flavin, semiquinone, and superoxide. So they watched what happened to these radicals when they removed the field. The putative magnosensitivity of which is supposed to be rooted in spin dynamics of electron and nuclear spins in the radical pairs as described by the RPN. You see, so it's saying it's supposed to be rooted in the spin dynamics of the electron and nuclear spins. And it's not, because matter doesn't do anything. It's the field that's keeping all the spin. Matter doesn't do anything. God is alive and we are dead. God gives life to lifeless matter. It's the only reason you're alive, and it's why you die. You are not constantly fed. You can't get enough energy inside you. And the changing of the field will kill everybody. So it's supposed to be rooted in the matter. Because Einstein said so, but I've shown that Einstein's E equals mc squared is a false equation, and his atomic bomb is not an atomic bomb, it's an electromagnetic pulse bomb. Because that's what they are. And I've got other videos about that. So, yeah, it's supposed to be rooted in matter. It's not. Because matter doesn't do anything unless an electric or magnetic field surrounds it, like the Schumann resonance, and and holds it in a holding pattern of DNA, which is the evolution adaptation video. We are here to build on this bold suggestion, which we extend to a 3-radical model by including an additional scavenger radical, assumed to be the ascorbyl radical. You can assume a lot of things. This offers 2 conceptual advantages: resilience of the effect of fast spin relaxation in the superoxide radical, and consistency with radical generation by oxidation with molecular oxygen or random encounters, both of which challenge the practical viability of the previously suggested RPM-based model. The extended model confirms the possibility that the described hypomagnetic field effects on neurogenesis and cognition are actually based on spin dynamics in radical systems as first predicted by the Simon group. This suggests that the redox homeostasis could be linked to the geomagnetic field via the magnetosensitivity of the ROS generating process in competition with radical scavenging. See, they're saying that this suggests that the radical elements could be linked to the geomagnetic field via the microsensitivity, which of course it is, because the magnetosensitivity is coming from the geomagnetic field. This possibility raises the exciting prospect of manipulating neuronal processes by applied static and oscillatory fields via direct modulation of ROS levels. This means somebody can change you, make you stupid. This could make an amazing weapon. That's the sad part. This could be relevant for space travel, but also in the context of many neurodegenerative diseases, which are frequently accompanied by redox imbalances leading to increased ROS levels. Eventually, if the model is found true, redox homeostasis could be regarded as an indirect coincidental quantum effect in biology. Now we're down to quantum, so we're down to energy. Indirect coincidental quantum effect in biology. Yeah, you take away the field, we all die. We all go stupid, our DNA drops to pieces, we turn to dust. This is what God says is going to happen to sinners. They will just drop into dust when God removes life from them. They will be dust under our feet, says the Lord. As I said, he will take away every piece of energy from you and you will be dust. Again, confirming all the words of God. So there we go. So not only is the field that creates the Schumann responsible for adaptation, evolution, it's also responsible for holding you together completely. So whenever you think, what has God done for me lately? Well, we're all alive. He makes the sun shine on good people and bad people. We try and do the same. But we're coming to a point in history now where history is about to repeat itself. The sun is going to go micronova, and many are going to die, and anybody who's left is not going to have a good time. And then the Lord will arrive, or maybe that'll all happen at the same time. But what I do know is, and I've known since I understood that energy and matter are separate. God showed me in 2014 in these visions that lasted weeks and weeks, didn't sleep for 9 days. He showed me that energy and matter are separate. He didn't tell me what matter was. He didn't show me what matter was. He showed me that matter was lifeless dust, and he gives life to lifeless matter. Because our God is an energy being. Electricity, magnetism, whatever energy there is in the universe. I refer to it as electricity and magnetism because that's how we refer to energy. But I would love to just talk about energy without having to say electricity and magnetism, because that's not all there is. There's so much more going on. Everything is being held in a collisionless wave. And when that collisionless wave disappears, everything will collapse. The sky will fall. People will be sucked out into space in a vacuum. Seas and lands will be frozen solid by minus 276 degrees below zero. When the field disappears, the world dies. Thanks very much. My name is Lee. I follow the Christ. And here we have another example of God showed me exactly how to tell you how the end is coming and why we should all be grateful and thank God every day just for being alive. Thank you for keeping me alive today, Lord. I know the world's killing me, But thank you for letting me wake up every day. Because the power of this earth is from the Lord, as is the whole universe power. So thanking him is a start on the road to being saved if you're not on that road already. Thanks very much.